Welcome back, everyone. Today we're diving into Dragon Age 2. And, I'm really excited for this one.
Me too.
I mean, this game is known for its complex characters, its branching storylines, and that amazing setting of Kirkwall. And you've put together a fantastic overview of the game, so I'm ready to just get right into it.
Sounds good.
All right, so let's talk about Dragon Age 2. What is it about this game that just grabs you right from the start?
Well, for me, it's how they take this one city, Kirkwall, and they just use it as a stage to explore all these really complex issues that resonate throughout Thetis. It's not just some isolated story. It's connected to everything.
I love that. So before we go any further, I think we need to really set the scene.
Okay.
What is it like to be in Kirkwall? Paint me a picture.
Okay, so imagine you're arriving by ship. You're stepping off onto the docks.
Okay.
And you're hit with this bustling port city, a real melting pot of cultures, and, there's trade, there's opportunity on the surface. But as you spend more time there, you start to see the cracks.
Oh, yeah.
The corruption, the scars left by the Fifth Blight.
Right.
The Chantry's got a really powerful presence there. Then you've got the Quinari.
Oh, wow.
Who are these really disciplined warriors with their own...
Very distinct.
Very rigid society.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And they add this element of tension. You never know what they're going to do.
Like unpredictable.
Exactly. And then underneath all of that, simmering away, you've got this constant friction between the mages and the Templars.
Right, because the Templars are supposed to be keeping the mages in check.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Always keeping them under a watchful eye.
So into this already volatile situation comes the Hawke family.
Right?
Fleeing the Blight refugees, just trying to make a new life. And I imagine that being an outsider in Kirkwall really shapes Hawke's journey.
Oh, it's crucial. I mean, you're not some powerful hero coming in to save the day.
Yeah.
You're starting from nothing.
Right, you're vulnerable.
You're desperate. You're just clawing your way towards survival in a city that's not exactly known for its hospitality.
No kidding. So it adds this layer of grit and urgency to the whole story.
For sure. And then you've got the way the story is told.
Oh, yeah.
Through the eyes of Varric Tethras.
Yes. Varric, that charming dwarf.
Oh, he's the best. With his crossbow and his quick wit.
He's just so much fun.
I know, right? He brings humor to even the darkest moments.
Yeah, and he's not just a companion. He's like our narrator, right?
Exactly. He's the one shaping how we see Hawke and all these events unfolding.
It's like he's telling us this epic tale.
Exactly.
So let's talk about Act 1. We're thrown right into the thick of things.
Yeah.
The Hawke family escapes the Blight, but they trade one set of problems for a whole new set in Kirkwall.
Right, like they're facing prejudice, poverty.
Yeah, it's all about survival at that point.
Absolutely. And it's in Act 1 that we come to this first big choice that really sets the tone for your whole playthrough.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Do you join the Grey Wardens? These legendary warriors.
Oh, wow.
Sworn to fight the Blight. Or do you try to carve your own path?
Okay.
In Kirkwall's messy political landscape?
It's a huge decision right off the bat.
Yeah, it really is.
And it speaks to that emphasis on player agency that Dragon Age is known for.
Right. You're not on rails here. You're shaping Hawke's destiny from the very beginning.
That's what I love about these games. And speaking of shaping destiny, Act 2 sees Hawke rising to prominence.
They do.
Eventually earning that title of Champion of Kirkwall.
Yes, Champion of Kirkwall.
But I imagine this rise to the top isn't without its challenges.
Definitely not. It comes at a cost.
Right, and I'm guessing this is where the whole Mage-Templar conflict really starts to heat up.
Oh, absolutely. It just explodes in Act 2. You're constantly caught in the crossfire.
Oh, man.
Forced to make these decisions with huge consequences.
It sounds intense.
It is. And the companions you choose, they become even more important during this time.
Yeah, there's your support system, your confidants.
Right, exactly. They help you navigate this crazy world.
Okay, so let's talk about some of these companions, because they're such a huge part of what makes Dragon Age 2 so special.
They really are.
We've got to start with Anders.
Oh, Anders.
He's a mage fighting for freedom, but as the story unfolds, his methods become, well, a little extreme.
He definitely goes down a dark path, but he's a great example of how the game doesn't shy away from moral ambiguity.
Yeah.
Like, he represents this side of the Mage-Templar conflict that we don't often see.
I see.
That desperation that can lead to extremism.
And he makes you ask yourself.
He does.
How far is too far when you're fighting for something you believe in?
Exactly.
Right.
Like, does the pursuit of freedom justify any action, even violence against the innocent?
It's such a tough question.
It is. And it's something I think we all grapple with at some point.
And then you have Fenris, a former slave haunted by his past.
Yeah.
His story is just heartbreaking.
Oh, it is. He's gone through so much.
He really has.
It's really an exploration of trauma.
Yeah.
And how difficult it is to heal from those wounds.
It makes you think about how power dynamics can exist, not just between groups,
right,
but also in personal relationships.
Absolutely. Like his past experiences with mages have really scarred him.
Understandably so.
And it makes it hard for him to trust Hawke if they choose to side with the mages.
Oh, I bet. But ultimately, his arc is about learning to trust again.
It is. About overcoming those wounds and finding connection.
Yeah, which is something I think we can all relate to in our own lives.
For sure. It's not just about magic and politics, it's about the human experience.
Exactly. And then we have Meryl.
Meryl.
The Dalish elf who's trying to restore this powerful artifact from her people's past.
She's fascinating.
She brings such a unique perspective to the game.
She does. She represents this tension between tradition and personal ambition.
And I love how her story touches on these themes that we see playing out in the real world.
Yeah.
Like her struggle to reclaim her people's heritage. Yeah. It mirrors the challenges that indigenous communities are facing all over the globe.
Trying to preserve their culture.
Yeah, in the face of modernization and assimilation.
It's a powerful reminder that even in a fantasy world, these issues are still relevant.
Absolutely. And then Act 2 culminates in this huge decision point.
It does.
Do you side with the mages or the templars?
It's the moment of truth.
I know. It's like this weight just settles on you.
You really feel the pressure.
And it forces you to confront your own values. Like, what kind of leader do you want Hawke to be?
Because there are no easy answers.
No.
There's no clear-cut right or wrong.
Yeah.
Both sides have valid points.
Right.
And the consequences of your decision will be felt throughout the rest of the game.
It really sets the stage for an intense Act 3.
Oh, it does. And I can't wait to talk about what happens next.
I know, me too. But I think we'll have to save that for next time.
Yeah, sounds good.
I'm already on the edge of my seat.
I know, right? Act 3 is where everything goes down.
Oh, man. All right, well, we're going to take a quick break here.
Okay.
But when we come back, we'll dive right into the chaos of Act 3 and the fallout from this impossible choice.
Sounds like a plan.
So stay tuned, folks. We'll be back right after this.
Can't wait. So Act 3 picks up right where we left off. Kirkwall is just on the brink of all-out war between the mages and the Templars.
Oh, it's a powder keg ready to explode.
Right, and the choices you made back in Act 2,
yeah,
they come back to haunt you here.
Big time, I bet. And I think this is where we meet some characters who really embody the extremes of this conflict. Like, the source material mentions Knight Commander Meredith. She seems to be a major driving force behind the Templars' hardline stance against the mages.
Oh yeah, she's a fascinating character, even if she is terrifying.
Like in a compelling way or in a...
In a I'm worried about the fate of Kirkwall kind of way.
Yeah.
She really embodies the Templar Order at its most rigid and uncompromising. I mean, she's seen firsthand the destructive power of magic.
Right.
And she's convinced that absolute control is the only way to protect the world from mages.
So, like, no compromise whatsoever.
Pretty much. But what's interesting is that her convictions, they come from a place of genuine fear.
I see.
Like, she wants to protect people even if her methods are a little
extreme?
Yeah, a little extreme.
Yeah, I remember feeling that sense of dread as her influence over the city grew. And then just when the tension is at its peak, we have this catalyst.
Right.
I don't want to spoil anything.
No.
But a certain mage takes a drastic action that throws everything into chaos.
It's a real turning point.
That's what's so brilliant about Dragon Age 2.
I know, right?
Just when you think you understand the conflict, lines get blurred.
Exactly.
It's not so simple anymore.
It's not black and white anymore.
Right, and this event forces Hawke to really confront the consequences of their past choices.
They have to.
And decide what they truly stand for.
It's a moment of reckoning.
Even if it means going against people they once considered allies.
Right, you have to choose your side.
Yeah, it makes me think about how this game explores the idea of power and control, not just in the Mage-Templar conflict, but also on a smaller scale in the relationships between characters.
Oh, absolutely. Like, think about Fenris.
Yeah.
He craves freedom after years of enslavement.
Right.
But he struggles to find it even after escaping his master.
Because it's not just about physical freedom.
Exactly. It's about mental and emotional freedom, too.
Right, and his story shows how power dynamics can exist not just between groups, but also within intimate relationships.
Like, who has the power in a relationship?
Yeah.
Who controls the narrative?
It's complex stuff.
It is.
And then you have Isabella, who seems to embody freedom in a completely different way.
Oh, yeah. Isabella, she's a force of nature.
Almost reckless at times.
Right. She represents this individualistic approach to freedom.
Okay.
Like emphasizing personal choice and a rejection of societal constraints.
So she makes her own rules?
Pretty much. She lives by her own code.
And her loyalty is hard-won, but once you have it, it's unwavering.
Oh, absolutely. She's ride or die once you've earned her trust.
And her presence in the narrative, it raises questions about the different ways we seek and define freedom.
Right. Like, what does freedom actually mean?
It's not a one-size-fits-all concept.
Definitely not. And then you have Cassandra.
Oh, Cassandra.
Who starts out as this staunch Templar.
Right, very by the book.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
But as she gets to know Hawke and learns more about the conflict, she starts to question things.
She's not afraid to challenge her own beliefs?
No, she's not. She's driven by this strong sense of justice.
And that makes her such a compelling character.
Right, because she's willing to confront uncomfortable truths.
And it's that willingness to grapple with these complex moral questions that makes Dragon Age 2 more than just a fun adventure.
I agree.
It's an experience that stays with you.
It really does.
It makes you think.
Long after the game is over.
So we've got Hawke, this complex character shaped by your choices, surrounded by this cast of companions who each represent different facets of the themes the game is exploring. But what about the ending?
Oh, the ending.
The source material mentions multiple endings depending on the choices you make.
Yeah, there are a lot of different ways things can shake out.
Wow.
Your decisions don't just impact Hawke's fate, they shape the future of Kirkwall.
Wow.
And they even have ripple effects that extend into future games in the series.
I mean, that must have been a huge undertaking for the developers.
Oh, I'm sure it was.
To create a narrative with so many branching paths and consequences.
Yeah, it's really impressive.
It's like those choose-your-own-adventure books I used to love as a kid.
Right. You're in control of the story.
Yeah, you get to decide what happens.
And I think that's what makes these games so replayable.
Yeah.
It's a different experience every time.
It's not just about consuming a story.
Right.
It's about actively participating in it.
And shaping its outcome.
Which is so cool.
It is.
Speaking of resonating with players, what do you think it is about Dragon Age 2 that makes it such a beloved entry in the series?
Even with all the controversy surrounding its release, for me, it's the personal stakes.
Okay.
Like, the story feels so intimate because it's focused on Hawke and their relationships with their companions.
Right.
It's not about saving the world. It's about navigating this complex and morally ambiguous situation and making choices that will have a real impact on the lives of the people you care about.
Yeah, and I imagine the setting of Kirkwall contributes to that feeling of intimacy.
Right.
It's a city you get to know inside and out.
You spend so much time there.
With all its flaws and complexities.
You really get a sense of what it's like to live in Kirkwall.
All right, so we've unpacked the story.
We have.
The characters, the themes. But there's one more element mentioned in the source material that I wanted to touch on.
Okay.
The idea of betrayal.
Oh, betrayal.
It seems like that's a recurring theme throughout the game.
Oh, it definitely is. Betrayal is woven into the very fabric of Dragon Age 2.
Wow.
And it manifests in different ways,
Like how so?
Well, you have companions who might betray your trust if their beliefs clash with your actions.
Okay.
You have political factions making deals and breaking promises.
Right.
And then there's the potential for Hawke themselves to betray their own values in the pursuit of what they believe is right.
Oh, wow.
It's heavy stuff.
Yeah. That's a really tough concept to grapple with.
It is.
And I imagine it makes for some really difficult choices in the game.
Oh, yeah. You're constantly second-guessing yourself.
Like, who can you trust?
Exactly. And can you even trust yourself?
That makes you question how far you're willing to go.
It does.
To achieve your goals.
Sometimes you have to make compromises.
Yeah.
And those compromises can have a real cost.
All right, we're going to take a short pause here.
Okay.
But when we return, I'm eager to hear your final thoughts on Dragon Age 2.
All right.
And what makes it such a compelling experience for players.
Sounds good.
Welcome back to our deep dive into Dragon Age 2. I'm still thinking about how the game manages to pack so much nuance into a story focused on just one city.
It's interesting, right? It kind of makes you realize that sometimes narrowing your focus can actually allow you to explore themes and ideas in a more meaningful way.
Okay, yeah, I see that.
By immersing you in the world of Kirkwall, the game creates this really powerful sense of place. And it makes the stakes feel incredibly personal.
Yeah. You really feel like you're living in this city.
You do.
Experiencing its history and grappling with its problems alongside the people who live there.
Right. It's not just a backdrop.
It's like Kirkwall is a character itself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons I think this game has stayed with me for so long.
Oh, yeah.
It's not just about quests and battles.
No.
It's an exploration of these complex themes that resonate with real-world experiences.
We've talked about the Mage-Templar conflict.
Right.
The themes of power and control, betrayal, freedom.
Yep.
These are all concepts that have a deep impact on us as human beings.
And Dragon Age 2 doesn't give you easy answers.
No.
There are no simple solutions.
Right.
It challenges you to consider different perspectives.
Okay.
To weigh the consequences of your choices.
Yeah.
And to accept that sometimes there isn't a clear right path.
Sometimes you just have to make the best of a bad situation.
Exactly. And I think that's what makes Dragon Age 2 so unique.
Yeah.
It's a very mature approach to storytelling in a genre that's often full of black and white morality.
You're either good or you're evil.
Right. But Dragon Age 2 embraces the gray areas. It asks more questions than it answers, and it leaves you with this feeling of unease.
I get that.
That lingers long after you finish the game.
It's not a comfortable experience, but it's a rewarding one.
Definitely.
It makes you think about your own values.
It does.
And question your assumptions about the world.
And that's a good thing.
It is. So we've talked a lot about how Hawke is shaped by the player's choices.
All right, like their personality, their decisions.
Yeah, I think that contributes to the game's lasting appeal.
Oh, absolutely. By giving you control over Hawke's personality and dialogue choices.
Okay.
The game allows you to create a character that reflects your own values and beliefs.
So it becomes a very personal story.
Yeah, you're not just playing a role. You're inhabiting it. And that level of personalization makes this story so much more impactful.
It's like holding up a mirror to yourself.
I like that.
And asking, what would I do in this situation?
Right. What choices would you make?
If I were faced with these impossible dilemmas.
Exactly. And the answer might surprise you.
Yeah.
You might find yourself making choices that you never thought you would.
Or aligning with characters you never expected to agree with.
It's all about growth.
Yeah.
Expanding your understanding of the world and the people in it.
I love that. So I think that's the perfect note to end on.
Okay.
Dragon Age 2 is a game that prompts reflection. That challenges you to think differently.
It stays with you.
It really does. And if you're looking for a story that's both deeply personal and profoundly thought-provoking,
then you need to play this game.
This is the game for you. Well, thank you so much for joining us as we explored the complex world of Dragon Age 2.
It's been a pleasure.
It really has. And for everyone listening out there,
yes.
Until next time, keep diving deep.
Happy gaming, everyone.